Welcome, dear listener, to our journey through the fantastical world of Terry Pratchett's Guards. This witty and enchanting tale invites us into the chaotic and magical Discworld, a flat disc balanced on the backs of 4 elephants, which in turn stand atop the immense turtle, Great Atuan. It is a world where magic, mayhem, and humor converge, creating a unique tapestry of storytelling that has captivated readers for decades. In Guards, we are introduced to the Ankh-Morpork City Watch, an inept, underfunded, and undermanned organization tasked with maintaining order in the largest city on the Discworld. Our story revolves around a group of characters who challenge the status quo and breathe new life into this lackluster force, ultimately defending their beloved city against an ancient and terrifying foe. Our protagonist is Sam Vimes, an alcoholic, disillusioned captain who has seen better days. He's a man plagued by his past and haunted by the shadow of the legendary Night Watch, Ankh-Morpork's storied law enforcement group that once struck fear into the hearts of criminals. Vimes is tasked with leading an investigation to unravel a series of mysterious events involving a secretive group known as the Unique and Supreme Lodge of the Elucidated Brethren of the Ebon Night. This shadowy cabal seeks to usurp power in Ankh-Morpork through the use of forbidden magic and an ancient, mythical creature, the dragon. In Guards, readers will also be introduced to a motley crew of new recruits who join Vimes in his quest to save the city. Carrot Ironfounderson, an upright and earnest dwarf abandoned at birth, raised among humans, and ignorant of his royal lineage, Corporal Nobbs, a man of questionable personal hygiene and even more dubious identity, and Sergeant Cullen, a man whose primary motivation is the pursuit of a comfortable retirement. These characters, flawed as they are, form the nucleus of the new City Watch, determined to restore order and dignity to their once honorable institution. Terry Pratchett's writing in Guards delights with its wit and intelligence, seamlessly blending humor and social commentary as it critiques societal norms and structures. The author invites us to reflect on the importance of power, responsibility, and justice through a fantastical lens. He reminds us that, in a world teeming with magic and chaos, there is still room for heroism, camaraderie, and the triumph of the human spirit, or perhaps, in this case, the dwarf and human spirits. Pratchett's prose also charms with its rich descriptions and vivid characterizations, painting a world that is both familiar and alien, filled with quirks and eccentricities. The denizens of Ankh-Morpork are as varied as they are intriguing, each contributing to the city's unique fabric and providing endless opportunities for social satire and comedic moments. In Guards, Terry Pratchett has created a story that resonates with readers long after the final page is turned. The themes of redemption, friendship, and the struggle against seemingly insurmountable odds are universal, transcending the boundaries of fantasy and finding their way into our hearts and minds. With its delightful characters, engaging plot, and thought-provoking commentary, Guards promises to be an unforgettable adventure in storytelling. So, buckle up, dear listener, for a wild ride through the fantastical Discworld as we explore the intricacies of Guards in this audiobook summary. Get ready to laugh, think, and lose yourself in a world where magic, mayhem, and humor converge in perfect harmony. In Guards. By Terry Pratchett, we are introduced to a fascinating cast of characters in the bustling and vibrant Discworld. The story revolves around the Night Watch, a ragtag group of city guards led by the cynical and world-weary Sam Vimes, who are tasked with maintaining order in the chaotic city of Ankh-Morpork. However, their duties take an unexpected turn when they stumble upon a plot to overthrow the city's patrician and install a new king. The Night Watch is a motley crew consisting of Vimes, the bumbling but lovable Carrot Ironfounderson, the sarcastic and lazy Nobby Nobbs, and the mysterious and brooding Angua von Uberwald. Each character brings their unique perspective and personality to the group, making for a dynamic and entertaining dynamic. At the heart of the story is the dragon, a fearsome creature unleashed upon Ankh-Morpork as part of the plot to overthrow the patrician. The dragon wreaks havoc on the city, burning buildings and terrorizing citizens, while the Night Watch struggles to find a way to stop it. But the dragon is more than just a mindless beast. It is a symbol of the chaos and anarchy that threatens to consume Ankh-Morpork. It represents the dangers of unchecked power and the consequences of playing with forces beyond one's control. Pratchett uses the dragon as a metaphor for the destructive potential of greed, ambition, and ignorance. As the Night Watch grapples with the dragon, they must also confront their own demons and insecurities. Vimes is haunted by his past failures and struggles to find meaning in his life, while Carrot wrestles with his identity as a dwarf raised among humans. Nobby and Angua, meanwhile, deal with their own personal issues, adding depth and complexity to the story. The themes of power, corruption, and redemption are woven throughout Guards. Pratchett uses humor and satire to critique society's tendency to idolize and fetishize power, while also highlighting the importance of personal responsibility and accountability. The Night Watch, despite their flaws and shortcomings, ultimately rise to the challenge and become heroes in their own right. In the end, it is through their efforts that Ankh-Morpork is saved from the dragon and the clutches of tyranny. But the story doesn't end there. Pratchett leaves us with a sense of hope and possibility, hinting at the potential for growth and change in both the characters and the world they inhabit. Guards is a masterful work of satire and social commentary, filled with unforgettable characters and biting wit. Pratchett's ability to weave complex themes and ideas into an engaging and entertaining story is truly remarkable, making Guards a must-read for fans of fantasy and beyond. Through The Night Watch, The Dragon, and The King, Pratchett explores the power dynamics that shape our world, challenging us to think critically about the consequences of our actions and the choices we make. So come along on this wild ride through Discworld, you won't regret it. Delving into the heart of Terry Pratchett's Guards, we find a most unlikely group of guards tasked with protecting the city of Ankh-Morpork from a monstrous dragon. The Night Watch, as it is called, is led by the grizzled and world-weary Captain Sam Vimes, who is struggling to maintain order in a city that seems hell-bent on descending into chaos. Vimes is a flawed character, plagued by his own demons and haunted by the failures of his past. He is a man who has seen the worst of humanity and has become deeply cynical as a result. Yet despite this, or perhaps because of it, he is also fiercely loyal to those under his command and determined to do whatever it takes to keep them safe. His motley crew includes the bumbling but lovable Nobby Nobbs, a man who seems to have an uncanny ability to find trouble wherever he goes, Carrot Iron Founderson, a naive and idealistic young recruit who hails from a race of dwarves but was raised by humans, and Sergeant Fred Colin, a man who is more concerned with following the rules than actually getting results. Together, this group of misfits must band together to face off against the dragon that has been terrorizing the city. But as they soon discover, this is no ordinary beast. It is a creature of immense power and cunning, one that seems to be able to read their thoughts and anticipate their every move. Pratchett uses the dragon as a metaphor for the corrupting influence of power, showing how it can twist even the most noble of intentions into something dark and sinister. The dragon's presence in the city serves to highlight the deep-seated issues that have been plaguing Ankh-Morpork for years, from political corruption to social inequality. But despite the odds stacked against them, the Night Watch refuses to give up. They are determined to protect the city and its people, even if it means sacrificing their own lives in the process. Through their bravery and determination, they serve as a reminder that sometimes the most unlikely heroes can be the ones who make the biggest difference. As we journey through Guards, with these characters, Pratchett challenges us to think critically about the power dynamics that shape our own world. He encourages us to question those in positions of authority and to consider the consequences of their actions. But more than that, he reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. So as we continue on this wild ride through Discworld, let us take a moment to appreciate the unlikely group of guards who have captured our hearts and shown us the power of bravery, loyalty, and determination. For in their story, we find not just entertainment, but also a reflection of our own humanity. Now, let's dive into one of the most thrilling and terrifying elements of Guards, the dragon. This isn't just any dragon, but a creature born from ancient magic, manipulated by the city's shadowy leaders for their own selfish purposes. Pratchett masterfully uses this mythical beast to explore themes of power, corruption, and the consequences of unchecked ambition. The first appearance of the dragon is nothing short of spectacular. It bursts onto the scene amidst a fiery blaze, leaving destruction in its wake. The citizens of Ankh-Morpork are both awestruck and terrified by this force of nature, which is described as being the size of several city blocks, with scales that shimmer like molten gold. What makes Pratchett's depiction unique is the level of detail he infuses into the dragon's behavior. It's not simply a mindless beast, instead it exhibits signs of intelligence and curiosity. At times, it even seems almost childlike, as when it plays with toys or becomes enamored with shiny objects. Yet there's also an inherent danger in these interactions, reminding us that despite its moments of innocence, this dragon is still a deadly predator. Central to the story is the question of who controls the dragon. Initially, it appears that the mysterious Brotherhood of the Dragon is pulling the strings, manipulating the creature for their own nefarious goals. However, as the narrative progresses, we see cracks in their control. The dragon proves to be a wild card, impossible to truly tame or direct. Pratchett uses this unpredictability to highlight the dangers of entrusting power to those who seek it for personal gain. The Brotherhood's plan backfires disastrously, underscoring the idea that absolute power corrupts absolutely. In contrast, our beloved Night Watch members, led by the stoic Sam Vimes, demonstrate humility, integrity, and selflessness, qualities that ultimately enable them to confront and defeat the dragon. Throughout Guards, Pratchett explores the concept of monsters, both real and metaphorical. The physical presence of the dragon embodies fear and chaos, while the human characters reveal how ordinary people can become monstrous when driven by greed or hatred. By paralleling these two aspects, Pratchett subtly critiques society's tendency to create its own monsters. In conclusion, the dragon in Guards serves multiple purposes. It adds an exhilarating element of fantasy, allows exploration of complex themes, and provides a stark contrast to our heroic Night Watch. Despite being a creature of terror, it also symbolizes hope, showing us that even in the darkest times, there's always room for redemption and courage. In Guards, by Terry Pratchett, we see an overthrow of the king and the rise of a new ruler, but not in the traditional sense. This narrative doesn't follow the storyline of noble heroes rising against a tyrant. Instead, it's a satirical take on the classic fantasy trope, where the unlikely group of the Night Watch becomes the city's only hope. King Lorenzo the Kind, also known as the Just, is not your typical monarch. He's more interested in his hobbies than ruling, leaving the actual governance to his advisors. While he may be kind and just, his absence from state affairs makes him an ineffective ruler. This vacuum of power creates an opportunity for a group of conspirators to manipulate the situation, leading to the overthrow of the king. The rise of the new ruler is not what one would expect either. The patrician, Lord Vetinari, doesn't seize power through brute force or even by popular demand. Instead, he's appointed as interim leader after the king's disappearance. It's a clever move by Pratchett to subvert our expectations. The overthrow isn't violent or dramatic, it happens almost unnoticed. Vetinari is far from being a stereotypical villain. He's intelligent, cunning, and manipulative, but he also has a deep understanding of how his city works. His rule brings stability to Ankh-Morpork, even if it means sacrificing certain freedoms for the greater good. In many ways, Vetinari is the antithesis of Lorenzo, where the latter was kind yet ineffective. Vetinari is ruthless yet efficient. Interestingly, Pratchett uses this political upheaval to explore complex themes such as power, responsibility, and corruption. The Night Watch, led by Sam Vimes, represents law and order amidst chaos. Despite their flaws, they stand for justice, making them the moral compass of the story. The dragon, a symbol of terror and destruction, also plays a significant role in this plot twist. Despite being a creature of fear, it embodies hope, too. Its presence reminds us that even in the darkest times, there's always room for redemption and courage. This paradoxical nature of the dragon mirrors Ankh-Morpork's political climate, a city torn between chaos and order, fear and hope, tyranny and freedom. In conclusion, Pratchett masterfully uses the theme of overthrow and rise of new rulers to create a satirical commentary on power dynamics. By subverting traditional narrative tropes, he presents us with a refreshing take on fantasy literature. The characters, from the hapless King Lorenzo to the cunning patrician Vetinari, serve as pawns in a larger game of power, responsibility, and morality. Through their struggles, Pratchett invites us to reflect on the true nature of leadership and governance. Delving deeper into Terry Pratchett's Guards, we find a rich tapestry of characters and themes that challenge our perceptions of power and responsibility in leadership. The novel features an array of characters, each with their own unique motivations and desires, but I want to focus on three key individuals who drive the story forward: Captain Samuel Vimes, Lady Ramkin, and the Dragon. Captain Samuel Vimes is a flawed yet relatable protagonist, burdened by his past as a failed officer and struggling with alcoholism. His character arc revolves around accepting his role as a leader within the Night Watch, ultimately embodying the idea of redemption. Despite his rough exterior, Vimes possesses a strong moral compass that guides him throughout the story. He serves as a reminder that true leaders are not defined by their mistakes, but rather by how they rise above them and strive to make amends for past wrongdoings. Lady Ramkin, on the other hand, is an unlikely heroine who unexpectedly becomes crucial in saving Ankh-Morpork from destruction. A wealthy aristocrat with a passion for dragons, she initially appears frivolous and out of touch with reality. However, as the story progresses, we see her growth into a strong-willed, compassionate woman willing to risk everything to save her beloved city. Pratchett uses Lady Ramkin to highlight the importance of adaptability in leadership. Sometimes, unexpected individuals can rise to the occasion and lead effectively when given the opportunity. The dragon itself serves as both an antagonist and a symbol throughout Guards. Initially introduced as a force of chaos and destruction, it later becomes clear that the dragon represents society's tendency to blindly follow authority without question. By weaving this theme into the narrative, Pratchett encourages readers to critically evaluate those in power and consider whether they truly have our best interests at heart. This leads us to one of the central themes present in Guards, the nature of leadership and governance. Throughout the novel, Pratchett explores various forms of leadership, from the ineffectual King Lorenzo to the cunning patrician Vetinari, inviting readers to reflect on what constitutes good governance. While some characters wield power through fear or manipulation, others seek to create positive change through empathy and understanding. Ultimately, Pratchett argues that true leaders are those who prioritize the well-being of their constituents above personal gain, fostering an environment where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. In conclusion, Guards offers a fascinating exploration of character dynamics and thematic depth. Through the journeys of Captain Samuel Vimes, Lady Ramkin, and the Dragon, Pratchett challenges readers to reconsider their perceptions of power, responsibility, and morality in leadership. By examining these themes closely, we can better understand how they apply to our own lives and strive to become more effective leaders within our communities. Sure, let's dive into the character development of Sam Vimes in Terry Pratchett's Guards. Sam Vimes is a drunk and disgruntled captain of the Night Watch in Ankh-Morpork, a city rife with corruption and chaos. Throughout the novel, we see Vimes undergo significant character development, eventually emerging as a heroic figure who embodies the values of duty, loyalty, and justice. At the beginning of the story, Vimes is introduced as a cynical and world-weary character. He's lost faith in the system and has given up on the idea of being a good cop. Instead, he spends his nights drinking and trying to forget about the state of the city. However, when a dragon starts wreaking havoc in Ankh-Morpork, Vimes is forced to confront his demons and step up as a leader. One of the key moments of Vimes' character development comes when he meets Carrot Iron Founderson, a new recruit to the Night Watch who embodies the ideals of justice and morality. Through his interactions with Carrot, Vimes begins to rediscover his own sense of duty and responsibility. He starts to care about the people he is supposed to protect, and he becomes determined to bring order to the chaos of Ankh-Morpork. Another important factor in Vimes' character development is his relationship with Lady Ramkin, a wealthy dragon owner who becomes involved in the fight against the dragon terrorizing the city. Through his interactions with Lady Ramkin, Vimes learns that power and wealth do not necessarily equate to moral righteousness. He begins to see that true leadership comes from a sense of duty and a commitment to serving others. As the story progresses, we see Vimes take on more and more responsibility, eventually leading the charge against the dragon and saving the city. Along the way, he learns valuable lessons about the importance of standing up for what is right, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. He also discovers that true strength comes not from physical power, but from a deep sense of conviction and a commitment to justice. Pratchett uses Vimes' character development to explore themes of leadership, responsibility, and morality. By showing Vimes' transformation from a cynical and disillusioned cop to a heroic figure who embodies the values of duty and justice, Pratchett challenges readers to consider their own perceptions of power and leadership. He asks us to question whether true leadership comes from wealth and status, or from a deep sense of responsibility and commitment to serving others. Through Vimes' character development, Pratchett also explores the theme of redemption. By showing how Vimes is able to overcome his own demons and become a heroic figure, Pratchett suggests that it is never too late to change and make a difference in the world. He encourages us to look beyond our past mistakes and focus on the present moment, where we have the power to make a positive impact on those around us. In conclusion, Sam Vimes' character development is one of the most compelling aspects of Guards. Through his transformation from a cynical and disillusioned cop to a heroic figure who embodies the values of duty and justice, Pratchett challenges readers to reconsider their own perceptions of power, responsibility, and morality. By exploring themes of leadership, redemption, and the power of conviction, Pratchett encourages us to be better leaders in our own lives and communities. In Guards, by Terry Pratchett, literature and stories play a significant role in shaping reality. The power of words and their ability to influence people's actions and beliefs is a recurring theme throughout the novel. One of the most notable examples of this is the use of the magical book, The Complete Discworld Dragoon, which contains spells that can summon and control a dragon. This book serves as a reminder that stories and words have the power to bring about real change in the world, for better or worse. The character of Librarian, who is a transformed orangutan after reading a magical spellbook, further illustrates this point. He embodies the idea that knowledge and literature have the power to transform individuals and their perceptions of reality. The librarian's transformation also highlights the dangers of mishandling or misunderstanding powerful texts. Pratchett seems to be suggesting that while stories and words can be powerful tools for change, they must be used with caution and respect. Another character who exemplifies the power of stories is the villainous dragon itself. The dragon's existence is brought about by the collective belief of the citizens of Ankh-Morpork in the legend of the dragon, which was contained within the Complete Discworld Dragoon. This idea that belief and imagination can shape reality is a common theme in Pratchett's work. He suggests that stories and myths have the power to bring about real change in the world if enough people believe in them. Pratchett also uses literature and stories as a means of social commentary, particularly in his portrayal of the Ankh-Morpork City Watch. The characters within the City Watch embody various literary archetypes, such as the noble hero, Carrot, the grizzled veteran Vimes, and the bumbling sidekick Nobbs. By using these familiar tropes, Pratchett is able to comment on societal expectations and stereotypes in a humorous and accessible way. Moreover, Pratchett uses stories as a way to explore themes of leadership and morality. The character of Vimes, for instance, struggles with his own sense of duty and morality throughout the novel. He is constantly faced with choices that challenge his beliefs and force him to reconsider his role as a leader. By using literature and stories as a lens through which to explore these themes, Pratchett encourages readers to reflect on their own values and beliefs. In addition, Pratchett uses stories as a means of subverting expectations and challenging societal norms. The character of Carrot, for example, initially appears to be the typical noble hero, but as the story progresses, it becomes clear that he is far more complex than that. Pratchett uses Carrot's character to challenge traditional notions of heroism and leadership, encouraging readers to think critically about what makes a good leader and what qualities are truly important in a hero. In conclusion, literature and stories play a crucial role in shaping reality in Guards by Terry Pratchett. The power of words and their ability to influence people's actions and beliefs is a recurring theme throughout the novel. Pratchett uses literature and stories as a means of social commentary, exploring themes of leadership, morality, and societal expectations in a humorous and accessible way. By using familiar literary tropes and subverting expectations, Pratchett encourages readers to reflect on their own values and beliefs, ultimately challenging them to be better leaders in their own lives and communities. Pratchett's Guards Guards offers a sharp critique of authority, power, and class structures in a manner that is both entertaining and thought-provoking. The story revolves around the Ankh-Morpork City Watch, which is composed of misfits and outcasts, led by the weary and cynical Captain Samuel Vimes. Pratchett uses this unlikely group to challenge societal norms and expose the folly of blindly following those in power. The character of Vimes serves as a foil to the traditional hero archetype. He is not valiant, handsome, or even particularly competent, yet he possesses an innate sense of justice that drives him to confront the corrupt and self-serving figures that populate Ankh-Morpork's upper echelons. Vimes embodies the idea that true leadership stems from morality and integrity rather than wealth or status. Pratchett also satirizes the notion of the heroic quest by introducing an actual dragon to wreak havoc on Ankh-Morpork. The citizens, desperate for a savior, turn to the city's secret society of noblemen, the Supreme Hygiene and Monster Repellent Committee. This group, comprised of pompous and inept aristocrats, exemplifies Pratchett's critique of power structures by demonstrating how those born into privilege often lack the necessary skills to lead effectively. Throughout, Guards. Pratchett highlights the absurdity and danger of unquestioningly following authority figures. He illustrates this theme most vividly in the character of Dragon King Reacher Gilt, a charismatic con man who manipulates the masses into supporting him as Ankh-Morpork's ruler. Gilt's ability to deceive and exploit the citizens underscores the importance of critical thinking and skepticism when it comes to those in power. In addition, Pratchett explores class struggles within Ankh-Morpork, particularly through the experiences of the Watch members. Each character hails from a different social stratum, giving readers an intimate look at the daily challenges faced by these individuals. By humanizing these characters and their struggles, Pratchett encourages empathy and understanding between classes, ultimately advocating for a more equitable society. As readers progress through Guards, they are challenged to reevaluate their own beliefs about authority, power, and class structures. Through humor and captivating storytelling, Pratchett forces us to confront the often absurd nature of societal hierarchies and consider what truly constitutes a good leader. In conclusion, Guards is an essential read for those seeking a fresh perspective on power dynamics and social structures. By expertly weaving these themes into a thrilling narrative populated by memorable characters, Pratchett invites readers to reflect on their own values and engage in meaningful conversations about the role of leadership in society. The lessons contained within its pages are timeless, making Guards an enduring contribution to literary satire and a true testament to Pratchett's storytelling prowess.